Hello, Lily.
Hi.
I am so excited that you're on my podcast because did we meet for the first time in January?
We met for the first time in person in January, but I had heard about you through so many mutual friends who are in the space, who are creators or tech founders. So I feel like I'd already known you. Plus, I feel like we're both very active on social media.
Yeah.
So it's always one of those things where like you meet, but you already know a bit about them.
I know. There's so many people now that I'll meet in person, but I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't even register that it's the first time we're meeting.
Totally.
We've been following each other, or I've seen their posts, and just like feels like I know them. That like the lines get blurred of when we actually like started like meeting or hanging out.
Totally. And I feel like I used to pretend like I didn't see anything of them and like ask questions. But now I will just literally say, oh my God, I've watched you on TikTok, on YouTube. Like, how was that party? I love that shirt you wore. And I think people respond pretty well to that.
Yeah, I think that's better too, because there's so many times where I've been in situations where I know someone like knows who I am, and not in like a, oh, you know who I am, but like we follow each other, like
100%.
You've interacted with my stuff, and then they'll meet me and they'll like pretend like they don't, because I think that maybe they think that that's
exactly.
like better. And I'm like, no, like, listen, I follow you. Like, I know what you ate for breakfast this morning.
Girl,
like,
same.
I know so much about you. Like, it's not weird. Like, let's just like get that out of the way.
It's only gonna be more common, I feel like, from now on. Like, this will be the norm, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I feel like it already is. So yeah, no, I'm so happy that you're on my podcast, because I've been wanting to do this for a while since we've like actually met up. You're active on social. You're starting a company, or you've started a company. And I feel like we just have a lot of like similarities. So
Totally.
I was really excited to get you on. I wanted to first talk about like, let's go back early days.
Okay.
And talk about you growing up in Canada.
Okay.
You grew up in Canada.
Yes.
And I feel like you've always had this like hustle and this drive to you, just based on like what I know about you and your previous stories. So what was your first job? Like, what was your first time when you were like, okay, I'm going to start working, I'm going to start making money? Like, was it just like to get a paycheck, or were you always someone that had like a lot of ambition and these interests?
So my dad was the one who really like instilled this on me. I'm an only child, and my parents are amazing, but I feel like my dad probably wanted a boy, or like a boy in the family. So he very much was like, you're going to play sports, you're going to get a job, you're going to make money. And I loved it because it gave me a lot of freedom. My first job ever was in 3rd grade. I was a newspaper delivery girl for my neighborhood.
So fun.
Yeah. So they would come drop off all of the newspapers, and I don't know if you know, but they drop off the flyers separate. And then I would literally sit in my living room on Thursdays, assemble all the newspapers, roll them up, put it back in the plastic bag, and then I would deliver them.
Were you like on a bike delivering them?
No, see, that I think is just for the movie.
Okay.
I don't actually think it's doable. Like, you are on average delivering papers for your entire block. And so I have no idea how you would actually be holding all of that bike. Also, absolutely impossible to be throwing the newspaper at the front door. Like, I went out with a trolley, and then I had recruited some of my friends to come with me. We were all in 3rd grade, so it was like an excursion for us. But that was my first job, and like, even, I mean, I got paid nothing. It was like 60 cents per flyer. But when you're in 3rd grade and you get a little check in the mail for $13, like, that feels like something.
Yeah. And I'm honestly surprised it's like you were allowed to work at that age and get paid.
I don't know if my dad said his 10-year-old daughter was doing it, or if he just like signed up for it and was like, you're doing it. But so I was a paper girl, and then I worked at McDonald's. That was my first job at 15. And then I worked at Party City, which is that party supply store with all the balloons. I worked during Halloween season because I had a crush on a guy who worked there. Then I worked at Starbucks as a barista. Then I worked at Jack Astor's as a waitress, which is like a restaurant, like a Kelsey's, Jack Astor's. Those are all Canadian restaurants. Okay. I'm not sure.
Like Chili's or something?
Yeah.
That's like what I'm picturing.
Chicken fingers and fries, baseball games, beer.
Okay.
That kind of energy. So I was a waitress. And that was all of my like part-time jobs before like going to university and having like a business or a tech job.
Okay. My first job was at Chick-fil-A, so similar to you at McDonald's. Like,
okay, Chick-fil-A, I feel like the people are always so happy and having a good time. Is that real?
Yeah, I mean, okay, they do. I do think it's like a nicer, like, service.
Yeah.
Like it's like they really teach you like you have to be smiling.
Yes.
Say my pleasure, like whatever. And I did like the people I worked with, but I really hated like my managers and like the person that was like above us. Like I really did not, and I didn't like working in food. Like I did not like working in like this food service industry, but I think it's so important for everyone to do it once.
You also just smell like food for like I don't know if you, but when I worked at McDonald's, like after my shift, I like smell like McDonald's all the time. Same thing when I was a waitress, like I always smelled like the kitchen. I didn't like working with food, but I did think you probably feel the same way. It really helps with your presentation, public speaking skills, like striking up a conversation, small talk. Like you get really good at that. Which I feel like now for us as founders, like I just sometimes think I'm a waitress and the person I'm talking to is like at the restaurant, and that's like the level of energy and attitude I need to have.
Honestly, I've never thought about that like growing your just like public speaking skills, but it does because you're talking to new people every single like 3 minutes, like 5 minutes, you're talking to someone new. They're also, like trying to have a conversation with you, or they're really unfriendly, or they're mean, or they're complaining. And so it does actually, I think everyone needs to work in the food industry at one point in their life.
It's
like mine was short-lived. It was 4 months, but
mine wasn't that long either. Like all of these jobs I had for under a year. It was just like 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And then I worked at Starbucks on campus in freshman year. And that's how I actually got my job in like the real world. So it all kind of like comes together, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay. How did you get your job at Starbucks? Like what was that? Because I know we were talking about it off camera, but how you were saying like you talked to a customer and you ended up getting an internship. Like what
Okay, so wait, what did you go to undergrad for again?
Industrial engineering.
Okay, so I don't know if so I went to undergrad for business, and the like recruiting cycles are really intense in like business undergrad. Like when the recruiters are coming, what they're looking for, all the coffee chats. I don't know if that was similar to you.
For us, we had a career fair, and it was one of those things where like I got my job not for an internship, but my job right out of college. I got it in September of my senior year, so it was like very early on. Like people were, by the time second semester came around, like you already knew what you were doing like in the fall after you graduated. So it was similar where like you knew people were in town they were recruiters in town, the companies were in town.
Yep, exactly. So really similar, but I feel like for business, it's even earlier where you only get a job in senior year if you had a job in junior year, which you only had a job in junior year if you had a job in sophomore year. So even as freshmen, we were like, we need a job right now. And I remember sending in my resume, my cover letter to all of these job portals, never heard back, never even got an interview. And I was like, I'm screwed. Like my entire life is over at this point. And so the only solution I had thought of was in the business building. So there's all these different buildings on campus. There was a Starbucks inside. And so I was like, well, if I get a job at Starbucks and someone's in that building hiring, at least I can see them and talk to them, and who knows, like I'm physically there versus like if I just apply for jobs, I never got anything. So I got a job at Starbucks, which I had to lie to get because there's 2 Starbucks on campus and one was in like the main university center, and I didn't want to work there because that was all students. So I told the staff I had claustrophobia. And I couldn't work at that Starbucks. There's too many people there, and I had to work at the Starbucks in the business building. She was like, okay. Put me there, and I ended up meeting the CEO of a tech startup, really early stage. They were pre-seed, 10 people. His name was Derek, and he had ordered coffee at the counter. It was like 7 p.m. before close. And you know when they're recruiters, they're wearing like suits and they don't look like students. They have their name tags. And as I was making his like caramel macchiato, I think I like started Googling him behind the machine that I was making coffee at, read a TechCrunch article that he had just raised money and was like, hey, like, are you hiring? Like, I will work for free.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just like, did you even know? Like, did he tell you what he was doing?
No,
or you
I was like,
all of this?
I was like, you're Derek. I've read about you before. I know you have a tech startup. I know this is the space that you're building in. You're probably at this school because you're looking for people to hire. I'm 18 years old. I don't know anything, but I will work for free. I will do marketing. I will do growth. I will do literally anything. And I think he was just taken aback as he's like, I literally came for my coffee. Yeah. He ended up giving me his business card, which we then like emailed afterwards, and he ended up letting me work for him that summer. He did also pay me.
Wait, okay, great.
So that was my first like break into tech, and it's just crazy because it happened because of Starbucks, and like Starbucks happened because of McDonald's, which happened because of delivering
Yeah.
newspapers. So it's just, I feel like all of these things
Yeah.
together.
You're really good at talking to people. Like I know this just from one knowing you in
Yeah.
person, and like you're very easy to have a conversation with. You're very personable and friendly, but I feel like you're also really intentional when you meet people. Like you know enough of, like, you know their background, or you are not necessarily like you're looking to get something out of it, because I don't
Right.
want to I don't think you're like transactional, but you do your research, and like you're good at networking, and you're good at talking to people and like relating to them. Is that something that you've always been good at, or was it something you kind of had to like learn or
Yeah.
test it out? Because there's so many people listening, I'm sure, that are like, wait, I want to get a job just by like someone, I work at Starbucks, I want to
Right,
do that.
right.
Like how do you even like get into that mindset of like not being afraid to kind of shoot your shot or meet people or
That's
put
such a
yourself out there?
that's such a good question. And something that you said that I think about a lot is it's okay to want to get something from someone else and being really straightforward about that's what you want. I think what people don't like is they don't like their time wasted, and they don't like when you aren't being truthful or straightforward. So I think if you're being truthful and straightforward and you're being mindful of their time, it's actually easy to be like, "Hey, like, look, I know this is maybe our first time meeting. Here's what I know about you. Here's what I love about you. Here's what I need. Like, I think you could help me." So I think one, it's like that mindset of it's okay to just ask for what you want. Two, like you said, make sure you do your research. And like, I think by doing your research, people know, oh, you are not wasting my time. Like you are
Yeah.
being intentional about this. And then they want to help you more. And then of course, like if there is an opportunity to like build a real relationship and a friendship, like that's awesome. But I think it really just came through my parents being like, if you want something, you're asking for it. I always had to explain to them what I wanted, why I wanted it, and they would listen to me. Like they wanted a lot of things from my life and my career and that I disagreed with. But when I communicated to them, like, here's why I disagree and here's why I think it's a better option, they were very receptive to that. So I think having that experience growing up, now it feels a lot easier and more natural to do.
Yeah, I totally agree, because there's nothing that bothers me more when someone texts me, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Okay, we haven't talked in like 2 years.
I know.
I'm good. How about you?" Like, just get to the point.
Right, like, what is this?
Yeah,
Is it your birthday? Like, do
yeah,
you need my help?
just tell me what you need. Like,
Totally.
because we're gonna get there eventually, and now we're doing this back and forth of like, "I'm good. How are you?" Blah blah blah, and like none of us care. Like,
Yes.
let's be honest. Like, we're not like we like each other and we're
Yeah,
acquaintances,
yeah.
but like I haven't spoken to you in a long time. Like, I would so much rather you just say like, "Hey, hope you're doing well. XYZ, whatever, like you're reaching out to me for.
Mhm.
Hey, I would love an intro to this person, or I would love
Mhm.
to catch up and talk about blank, whatever it is." Like, that is so much more respectful, I think, than
100%.
this like charade of like caring about what we're up to when we don't have like a,
Yeah.
friendly or a friendship. Like, it's okay to just be like, "Hey, I need this," and that's it.
Well, wasn't that how we kind of connected too? Like we had obviously met and been friends, but I texted you, I think, after we got coffee in January. I was like, Natalie, like, I really need to be on more podcasts. Like,
Yeah.
I'm applying for my visa. And like, as part of the visa, they need you to be on podcasts and articles. I know you have an amazing podcast. If you're recording, like, let me know. And you told me you were recording in person in Miami. So we couldn't make that happen. But because I'd asked you, I'm sure now when you came to New York, you're like, oh yeah, Lily like might be here.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, wait, like I really did want you on my podcast,
Yeah.
but I was like, okay, but I'm really trying to prioritize in person. So like,
Totally.
let's wait until we're in the same city again, because I knew it would happen. And yeah, then you were like the first person to come to mind when I was like, wait, I'm coming to New York. I want to record podcasts.
Yes.
Lily. Like
That's what I mean. I feel like it's weird in the moment, but once you get to doing, and there's definitely a right way of doing it. Like there's people who don't do it right. They just ask in a way where you feel like, hey, I don't know you. Like I don't know if I want to help you or support
Yeah.
you. So I think it's just a matter of trying and figuring it out.
So what's the wrong way to do it? Like, how have you been approached that's been like bad, or how have you done it where it's felt, because I agree, there's some way where it's like, okay, you just kind of are using me, like, and that you don't like that feeling. So like, how do you balance the like, okay, not wasting someone's time and being upfront, but also not feeling like you're just like using the person?
One, I think if you asked once and the other person isn't very receptive to it, don't ask again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had people ask me for things where I really I don't know you well enough or have the abilities to help you in a certain way. And I've said I couldn't, and they keep asking the same request over and over again, I'm like,
nothing's gonna change.
I feel like, yeah, that's tough. I think also being like using your brain a little bit. So if you're two companies, and now I'm just talking about more work related stuff, but if you're two companies in the exact same stage, in the exact same industry, going for the exact same thing, it's hard for people. It's, you know what I mean? It's harder to ask for certain things. Like I typically try to ask people who are way more ahead of me, who, you know, like has nothing to lose from helping me out, or someone in an adjacent industry. I've had people ask me for things. I'm like, we're like straight competitors. You know what I mean? So it's a little hard for me to feel like that's like right for my company. And I think, yeah, like what you said, that how are you is too short, that hey, can you do this for me is too direct. You just need somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you don't have these skills, there's a larger social awareness piece to explore here.
I know. I think a lot of times it's just people are just scared of one, being rejected. They're scared of no response, or they're scared that like they're gonna come across as you know, like annoying, or oh my gosh, this person's gonna talk about me because I'm like asking this. And I've definitely felt that way before, where I'm like, I don't know if I should ask, but I always think back to like when I've asked for favors for people, or I've asked for help or advice or whatever it is I'm kind of going for, and I'm like, even if I didn't have the time to help this person, or even if I like didn't have the resources, or you know, like couldn't in the moment, I didn't feel like would I feel annoyed that I'm asking this question?
Right.
And usually the answer is no.
No.
Like, and I've realized that in startups actually, which is kind of surprising to some people. And I don't know how you felt about this. I think people are really nice. Like a lot of founders that I've met, a lot of investors that I've met, I've had a really good experience with them. Not everyone, obviously, but for the most part, people have been so kind. They've been so helpful. Like the only way we were able to raise our first round was because other founders and investors were really nice. And like, we're able to help, because I don't have connections. I don't come from like startup or tech background. And so I would ask other founders for help, and they would send intros, and like,
but I think that it says a lot about your, like the way you did it. Like you must have done it in a way where the other person felt like you did your research, you were mindful of their time, you're specific about your ask. They either could help you or point to someone who could help you. And I'm sure the feedback they've heard from people who have met you have been positive, right? Like those are all things that have to be true for your experience to be good.
Yeah, which I definitely agree with that. But I always want to pay it forward then, because like I know people have helped me. So like when someone asks me for a favor, I'm like, okay, I have asked this favor in the past to someone and they helped me. So like I need to now help this person.
Totally.
Even if, you know, it's going to take 30 minutes or an hour of my day, whatever it is, you know? And so I always try to be like mindful of that. And I feel like that's the way, like, at least in this like startup world or the founder world that like both you and I are a part of, it's been an overall positive experience. But I agree. I think it's because like you have to kind of do it the right way. And there's a balance of being respectful, but also like not wasting people's time and not just like using people. And yeah, I think that's something that you learn, like you said, you learn that at Starbucks. Like you were like learning that even in like the fast food world. And I feel like those are like the soft skills that people need to take away.
Yeah, well, I was even gonna say, like, when, like, now that we're working on Breezy, what, like your YouTube video about how you guys raised your first round, that I think is a way of you giving back to people who are earlier in their journeys. Like I remember watching that YouTube video back in like December, I think. And it's been super helpful in like our own startup journey. So like I think that is a way that you're already doing exactly what you're saying right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's so funny, because I always, whenever I'm posting a video like that or a podcast episode, I'm always like, okay, I want people to actually get value out of this, or like take something away from this, or be entertained, whatever it is. But like I don't want them to leave watching this or consuming this content and feeling like worse, or feeling like, okay, I just wasted my time listening to this or watching this. And so even if it's for like a niche group of people, I always think like, okay, what would I have wanted to see? Like when I was starting this journey, what conversations would I want to listen to, or what topics would I want to hear about? And like that's usually how I come up with my better YouTube videos or like better content, because I've definitely put out like shit content too, where it's like I just need to like put something out and then you can tell it doesn't do well, it doesn't like add value. But the ones that always like seem to do better, or like people will say like, oh, I watched that and it helped, are always the one I'm like, what did I want to see at that time?
And then you create it.
Yeah. And
I love that.
That's kind of like the mindset of a founder also in general. Like how did you, okay, so I guess going back, so you worked for Starbucks, you worked for the restaurant, you were in university. after school, what job did you get, or what jobs did you even have like in school?
So in school, I worked at that startup, the founder that I met at Starbucks was a consumer fintech pre-seed startup that I worked at as employee number 13, that today they're a unicorn company. Then after that, I worked at another consumer fintech company that was seed stage, also a unicorn company right now.
Is this all while you were a student?
All while I was in school. So
Okay.
during summers and then a little bit part-time during the year. And then I got a job as a management consultant in the corporate world because, oh my God, that was like the dream career if you were in a business undergrad.
Yeah.
I did not like it. I could have end of first day of my internship in this consulting firm, I was like, not for me. But it was just really, really hard because I had thought it was my dream job. So when you work for something thinking it's your dream job and it's not, you feel like, oh my God,
what did I do?
What did I do? Where do I go next? So I graduated during COVID, and because of COVID, there was no projects in the corporate world. Everyone was on the bench. They moved my start date back 6 months, and I was like, well, I'm not going to sit here for 6 months. I ended up helping out at my friend's beauty company. They were just the 2 co-founders at the time, so I joined them to help out. The plan was to be at that beauty company for 3 months and then go obviously back into corporate. But 3 months later, I was like, I don't want to do consulting. I don't think beauty is the career for me, but it's better than consulting. And I think the way I make decisions, sometimes I'm okay with it being not the perfect decision as long as it's the best option that's available. Like, I'm good with that. So I joined that beauty company in 2020 and I was there for 2 years leading growth. First employee, they had 12 by the time we left. We launched in Target, Whole Foods, Nordstrom.
What beauty company?
It's called 3 Ships.
Okay.
Launched like 35 different products. Really just learned like how to grow something. Like, you have this product, you have this app, you have this software. That's great. But how are you going to get people to use it? What levers are you going to pull? What analytics are you looking at? What story are you telling? What brand are you building? Those are all skills that I gained at the beauty company. And then last summer is when I started working on Breezy, which is the startup now. And I feel like everything kind of like ties. I think the theme of this podcast is like, in retrospect, everything ties together. But in the moment, you're like, what the hell is this? What am I selling beauty products for?
I know. It's like the Steve Jobs speech. I don't know if you're familiar with it, where like you look back and like all the dots
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm definitely butchering what he said, but something like that. Look it up. It's a great.
Okay, it's your version now. This is your version.
But yeah, no, that's so cool that you were able to like get so much experience at such a young age. And I totally agree, because when I was in school, I was doing industrial engineering. I did not want to do engineering.
What is industrial engineering?
It's pretty much like I always say it's like the business engineering, where it's all about like efficiency and streamlining processes. And a lot of people in industrial engineering either go the consulting route or they go the supply chain route.
Okay.
So there's like
riveting.
Yeah. Like
so much fun. How do I pick?
Yeah. So I did not want to do supply chain. I did like a supply chain warehouse internship in college, which, as you can imagine, was awful. It was like middle of nowhere, North Carolina, at a warehouse. It was actually Ralph Lauren. So I thought it was cool because I was like, oh, Ralph Lauren. It was like their distribution center in High Point, North Carolina, in a warehouse. It was not a fun summer, but I learned a lot about what I did not want to do. And so that was good. But I thought that I was like, okay, I obviously don't want to do this. Consulting's the next option. I can put my hands in a bunch of different industries. I'll learn a lot from consulting. I didn't feel like I was challenged at all.
No.
I didn't think I learned a lot. I really didn't like it. I really did not like it. And so
wait, where were you?
I was at Accenture.
Wait, I was at Accenture.
Yeah, no. When you said on the bench, I was like, I know she was at Accenture.
Oh my God, that's
the term.
So funny. Yeah, I was at Accenture. I mean,
no shade.
Great firm. Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for us, I guess.
Yeah.
That is actually so funny.
I know. That's why I'm like, our stories are like very similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not like it. I worked on my first project and I quit after like 9 months because at the time I was also making more money on social media than I was at Accenture. So I was like,
oh wow,
goodbye, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm doing social media full time. But I always thought, I was like, that was the dream job after school, was to like get a job at a consulting company, and it was so
Totally.
established and so like prestigious, and
Make your LinkedIn post.
yes,
I'm so excited to start my new role.
yeah, you sound so smart.
Yeah.
And it's like they really make, I mean, it is hard to like get a job there, I guess. Like it's like a long interview process and whatever, but still, like I just did not like it. And so yeah, I was in the same boat where I was like, okay, what do I do? Like thank God I had social media, because I like was able to do that full time and I really loved it. But I always wanted to do something else. Like I always was like, I want to do more than just be a creator. Like that's not my end goal. And so I started a social media agency. Like that's kind of what I did in my free time when all of this time opened up, because I had quit my job. So started an agency, really loved it. But then that's where I like started realizing all the pain points in the social media content creator space. And when I had the idea for Rella. And like you sound very similar to me, where when I have an idea for something, like, or when I have like an interest, or I want to like explore this new direction, like I just go all in. Like I kind of like jump head first and then I figure things out later. Like I don't really I'm not like, okay, this is my 5-year plan and this is what I'm going to do. I'm just like, this is the option in front of me. I can either go for this and like it can start to snowball, or I can overthink it and not do anything. And I'm always in the go for it.
I'm more in that bucket than the other, but I do make a 5-year plan. I am like a 1, 3, 5, 10-year plan girl. Like in the New Year's, end of the year, I take like 2 weeks to make all my like yearly annual things. I do find weird enjoyment out of that. But I agree with you. I think I skew more towards that. With Breezy, it was kind of like, I didn't dive. I don't know how you did it. I didn't dive straight in. I was still at the time. So I'd left the beauty company April of 2022, and Breezy didn't start till September 2023. In that year, I was consulting. So I was basically a freelance head of growth for other CPG brands in beauty, wellness, health, some consumer tech. And then a couple months before it, I started making TikTok videos to try to gauge the concept, etc. And my thing for myself was, once I hit 1,000 people signing up for my wait list, then I'll do it full time. So I had a little bit of a like thing before I dove in full time.
Well, that's smart. No, that's really smart. I always had, so because I was doing social media and stuff, it wasn't like I had to like quit anything.
Right, that's true.
So I did end up stopping the agency. So I did like stop that, but my main stream of income was always my social media. So it was like I didn't have to quit. So it wasn't like I didn't have to make this like big leap. Like it was more just like it started taking up more and more of my time, and it started like I started investing more time into it. And then once we obviously raised money, I was like, okay, I gotta like
definitely,
this
you got it,
my full focus. Even though obviously I still do content, but it was more of my focus. And like my co-founders ended up quitting what they were doing once we raised money. So we all started like shifting towards like full-time Rella. But I am someone that like I don't have a 5-year plan. I have obviously like, okay, in 5 years I hope I'm like married, I hope I have kids, like whatever, like
right.
That. But I'm not actually like checking the box or like looking at it and being like, am I like close to achieving this goal? I think I always just like follow my curiosity and like whatever I'm interested at the time, and it ends up like kind of snowballing from there. So I feel like I'm a very impulsive person when it comes to that.
Yeah, I almost feel like for me, the 5-year plan. So I don't know if you've heard of this thing called Odyssey planning or not. Oh my gosh, I feel like I talk about this on every single podcast I'm on. But there's this like life planning exercise called Odyssey planning, where it's essentially like you make a 5-year plan for yourself, but you make it in like 3 alternate realities. So the first one is like the reality that you're in right now. So for us, it's like we're tech founders like in Miami or in New York. What does 5 years look like? The second one is like, okay, what if that didn't happen? Maybe for me, it's I start a brand and I build like a CPG brand, something creative like that. Maybe for you, it's just full-time influencer or the agency. And the third life is like what you do if like money was not a constraint. You can come up with whatever. And the point is you have these 3 different alternate realities, and you write down your 5-year plan and exactly what happens at 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 in all 3 universes. And it takes a very long time. First of all, this is like not for the faint of heart, but when you finish doing it, I think what I felt from that exercise is I have so much optionality.
Yeah.
Like after that exercise, I was like, oh my God, I would be so happy and fulfilled in any of these 3 lives. They all feel doable. Obviously, I'm working on the first one right now, but like if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I feel just as happy with the other 3. So one, it relieves a lot of pressure from you needing to do like one plan for yourself. 2, you get really specific. Like you write down like when you want to meet your boyfriend in each year. You write down, like I wrote down how much money I wanted to raise, where I wanted the company to be, who was working at the company. And like I did all this like pre-company anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing Odyssey planning last year. So I'm like 1 year in, you know what I mean? Like I have that first year. I look back and I kid you not, I did everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Like started a company, had a co-founder, have a team, raise money, moved to New York, found a boyfriend. No, it was insane.
That's
so
amazing.
I think there's the other good thing about stuff like this is if you use it as a tool to create the future you want and not to create pressure on yourself today, I think it's really powerful. There's something just about getting it on paper that like, you know, it's in your head. It's in the back of your head somewhere. And like, not like I think about it all the time. I don't look at this ever. I only look at it at the end of the year. So I didn't even realize until this last January that I did everything for the last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, congrats.
So
That's awesome.
big fan of Odyssey planning. You should maybe try it, see how
Yeah.
it is. It may not be for everyone.
Yeah, no, I actually really like it because I feel like I do it in my mind. Like I
Yeah.
haven't written it out, but I want to write it out because I always think about that. And then, okay, I would love to know your opinion on this then, because with that, sometimes I feel guilty when I'm like, wait, I'm thinking about a plan B though. Like I'm thinking, and I feel like when you're a founder, you should, like, there's so much talk about like, don't think about a plan B. This has to work or not. So like, how do you view it as? Do you view it as a plan B or do you view it as more like optionality, like you were saying?
I definitely don't view it as a plan B. I don't know who, I mean, maybe there's science behind this, but like, I don't know if I believe in the connotation that having a plan B means you don't do your plan A. Like, is that proven? Like, did someone do research on that and like follow people throughout their lives? Like, if it's proven, maybe it's something to look into, but I've never had that problem. I think having optionality in my entire life has only made me stronger, better, and like more free to give it 100%, you know? So like, I could look into the research maybe.
No,
and like,
totally.
I don't want to invalidate that, but to me, I'm like, I don't think there's a correlation in having a plan B, and like you shouldn't feel bad about that.
I agree with you because also lately I've been thinking like there's just so much pressure when you are starting a business or you're, you know, maybe in school and you really want to get a certain job or you want life to go a certain way. Like you have so much pressure to have it go that way or else like you failed, you know? And I've been thinking a lot about it now and I'm like, whatever happens in my life, I'm going to be fine. Like it's like that.
Sure.
Looking at the 3 different alternate universes, like no matter what happens, like Rella could fail, Rella could take off, Rella could get sold, we could you know, there's so many different plans. Like if after Rella, if I could become a full-time influencer or I start something else or I do that, you know, like there's a million different options that my life could go, and whichever one happens, like it's gonna be fine.
Right.
And so that's given me a lot of peace because I feel like I've had so much anxiety lately just about like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen the next like year, the next 2 years, whatever. And I feel like my life is just so like all over, like it's not like set, you know, like there's so much in the air, there's so many like options, there's so many roads I could take. And so feeling that like whatever happens is gonna be fine has literally brought me like so much peace and like really helped me kind of like get rid of those anxious feelings that I've been having.
Yeah, I agree. And it helps you think more clear as well.
Yeah, no, totally. And I know that obviously you started Breezy. How did you start that? Like, how did you get that idea? Why did you decide to like go for it? And I want to hear about like the year journey that you've like completed all those goals.
So Breezy, I'll just do a quick like one-liner for people who don't know what it is. But Breezy is basically a social platform for people who like to make and share lists. It is literally like Instagram or any other social media platform you've used. Instead of it being photos or videos, it's a list. We kind of describe it like if you need a visual, it looks very similar to your Notes app, but just imagine if all your friends were on like one Notes app together. And so you make a list, they see it, they make a list, you see it, you comment, you save, you share, you like. The idea for it, honestly, I was thinking about it the other day. I was reflecting. I've probably started thinking about some version of this back in college. I've just always been a list person. Like,
Yeah.
I just always used to make lists of everything. It was always in my notes app, grocery list, packing, travel, my classes, my study notes. And I've had multiple times where I've had to take a screenshot, send a list to a friend. And I've always thought like that's inefficient. We should build something better. But that to me was not a like $1 billion consumer software idea for me to pursue. But it was in the back of my head. And then when was this? Probably a year ago, I was going through a breakup, although I'm hesitant to call it a breakup because it was a situationship.
Okay, those are the ones that hurt the most, though.
Those are the ones that hurt the most, but I got shade for saying it was a breakup, and people were like commenting on my TikTok being like, that's not a breakup. You weren't even dating him.
Okay, well, why don't you go through it?
I was like, girl, I was down bad, okay? Like,
Yeah,
I
I
almost
felt like
wish it was a real breakup because like this was like, it didn't even happen.
Yeah, because then it's like embarrassing. You're like, wait, why am I sad when like
it's so embarrassing? And I was in that situationship for 2 freaking years.
Yeah, no, that's not
No,
okay.
it was actually crazy. Not the point though. But I was going through this breakup, which we're calling it a breakup. And I had made a list in my notes app called How to Feel Better because I was actually just feeling like shit. And I was like, okay, I need to feel better. Like, I'm making a list. I'm getting a mani-pedi. I'm buying a matching sweat set. I'm buying the iced matcha that costs $8 tomorrow. I'm getting a Pilates membership. I'm doing all these things. I'm going to listen to Mel Robbins in the morning in my headphones, and I'm going to fucking feel better. And I did it the next day. Well, next week. I didn't do all of it in one day, but I started doing these things one by one. I started feeling better. And I was just thinking, okay, well, someone somewhere could find this interesting, could find this helpful, but like I was not going to post it on my Instagram. You know, like it's just weird to share stuff like that. So I put it up on TikTok because, you know, like TikTok feels like you can share whatever.
Yeah, it's not, it feels anonymous when it's not.
It's the opposite of anonymous, fully. But I posted that as a green screen video. Wasn't even really talking about it, I think. And it blew up. Like the next day it had, I think, 4 million views or something like that. Thousands of comments, and then thousands of mostly women being like, I needed this list. I saved it. I screenshotted it. Thank you so much. I had the same list. I opened my DMs on Instagram too. People were sending me screenshots of different lists that they had in their notes app of favorite movies to watch, rom-coms, like how to glow up, their workout routines. And it was all screenshots of their notes app. And that's when I became really obsessed with people in their notes app. And I had come to this sudden realization that our personalities are best shown in our notes app, right? Like I always say this to my friends, or like you and I, if we were on a game show and I had to give you my phone and you could only look at one app and then you had to answer 10 questions about me, if you get it right, we get $1 million.
The notes app.
It's the freaking notes app. There's some things which I'm like, I hope Natalie doesn't see that.
Yeah.
But you would know so much about me. And it's just always weird to me because the whole point of social media, the whole point of us being online is to show and tell other people about ourselves and our lives and our personalities. And we don't really do that on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of was like, there's a huge business opportunity here. Like consumer software is the most lucrative industry in tech. Meta is a it's $1 trillion company, but they're like $180 billion companies that are not serving the purpose of what they're supposed to serve, which is allow 8 billion people to showcase their personalities online. And you know how they always say, like, to build a tech startup, you need to know a secret. Like, you need to have a secret. My secret is, I think it's lists.
Yeah.
I think lists is the way that we will tell the world who we are, what we did, what we like, what we're interested in, and it becomes the platform that connects all of it with each other.
Well, you get to really understand like who the person is, like you were
100%.
saying. You don't have the pressure of like looking good or like doing your makeup.
Like
or whatever.
really, how hard can you flex in a list?
Yeah.
Like try.
And it's not about like showing a perfect life or anything like that.
Even if you go on Breezy right now, like people are not making lists of here are my greatest accomplishments or like my jobs or my vacation.
Providing
it's like,
value.
They'll make a list of what they bought at Trader Joe's last Monday. They'll make a list of their favorite songs by their favorite artists. They'll make a list of summer fiction books they're reading at the beach. They'll make a list of, I saw this list the other day that was like dog names if I ever got a wiener dog.
Oh, that's so funny.
And it's so funny. It's so cute. You get to know people and it's a really different experience. And as someone, I'm sure you relate, who grew up entirely on social media, it is like the experience that I've always craved. And so I very much, we're early stage. Like I'm building this for myself, but I think other people would like it too.
Yeah, and clearly like they have.
Yeah.
Like you have a lot of users and you guys have like gone viral on TikTok as well. And I feel like it's cool because it's not something that you're not yes, like every social media platform is a competitor, but I think it works well with like TikTok or
totally
Instagram.
Well, that's why so we have a lot of people who will ask us, how are you going to replace Instagram or replace TikTok? And I always tell them like we don't have to. Like the only social media platforms replace each other. This gets really nerdy, so like people can skip this. But basically, every social network has an atomic unit, and the atomic unit is like the piece that the platform is built on top of. And so for Instagram, it's photos. Mm-hmm. So for any platform to replace Instagram, they basically have to be the consumer's default platform for sharing photos, which Be Real tried to do, but obviously it's not working. Instagram still is the number one place people are sharing photos. TikTok replaced Vine as like video, short form vertical video. YouTube is like long form horizontal video. Snapchat is a disappearing photo. Twitter is like this 140 character tweet. These are all atomic units. And so for a platform to be replaced, it needs to be the platform for the atomic unit. Our atomic unit is a list. And there is no social platform today that has truly made a list the center of the platform. And so we don't have to replace it. If you went to a concert, you could take a photo of it on your story, also simultaneously post a TikTok video about it, and post a list on Breezy talking about your favorite songs from the concert. Like, they're not one or the other.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's gonna do so well. I think it's genius. And if you go through my notes app, I definitely have a lot of lists that I could share. Or
oh my god, yeah.
Even like the other day, like I posted my kava order on my story.
Dude, people have been
like
doing that.
That could be like, you know what I'm saying?
They've been doing like Chipotle, kava, like smoothie bowls. It's all these small things that I don't know. I feel like we're in a different era now of social media. Like what I eat in a day, that hashtag, I don't know if you know, has 2.1 billion views on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I tell the older generation about that, and they're like, oh, like, is it a celebrity's what I eat in a day? I'm like, no. They're like, is it a fitness influencer? I'm like, nope.
Just like a normal person.
They're like, who is that? I'm like, I don't know, but she looks nice.
Yeah.
And she's eating some fun oatmeal.
Yeah.
And they're like, so you don't know her? I'm like, no. And 40,000 people are watching it. Yes.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
Like, why do we care so much about other people's lives? But we do, because it's like a sense of community, or it's like I relate to that person, or I want to, get inspired and get new ideas. And it seems a lot more attainable than when you picked up a magazine and it was just curated like recipe from this like famous chef, that it felt like unattainable.
I mean, we weren't put on this world to be alone, know? Like, we're not supposed to be alone. We're supposed to be with other people and have other relationships. And as much as I know there's a lot of people who think social media is bad and you should get off of it, the fact that we have invented a tool that gives you access to so many other people in the world, I feel like we should be taking full advantage of it. Are there negative side effects? For sure, but there's not negative side effects to everything. And I think, I'm sure you and I both feel the same way because we're building in this space. So we're generally very excited about it. But I would say overall, the net positive on social media and like what you can get out of it, whether it's learning something, finding friends, finding a job, finding a partner, like that will, I think, if we continue building more opportunities for that, like social media is here to stay, and it's kind of our job to continue building better versions of it.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Like there's so many conflicting thoughts sometimes, like depending on what's going on in the world, the day. But I agree, like you can use it for good, and there's been a lot of fruitful connections that have been made through social media.
I mean, us.
Yeah, literally.
Right
like,
here.
Most of my friendships, honestly, have been made somehow through social media. Like even if I didn't meet them through social media, the first time I ever reached out to them was through social media.
Totally.
Like the first time I like messaged them was through a DM or responding to a story or something that we had in common. And that is something that like I'm very grateful that we have.
Me too.
Yeah. One last story because I really want to talk about this. But you met your boyfriend or you didn't meet him, but you kind of like facilitated it through your app. So how did you like?
It's so funny
get
because
that done?
oh my god. Well, now that I think about it, Breezy literally started because of a boy. And now I have a new boy because of it. So I guess like my love life and this company are forever intertwined, which
Yeah.
we can talk about later if it's good or bad. But so my boyfriend and I, we met at the gym, which I think is such a flex in today's world because everyone meets on apps. But we met at the gym.
And also gyms are like everyone has like a gym crush. So like you actually
He was like, I have Snapchats that I've saved before we met where I would this is so creepy, but like take photos of him from across the gym. And I was like, guys, my gym crush is here. So yeah, we met, we started talking, and he was super supportive. Like I have Breezy linked on my Instagram bio. And so when we released our beta, which we only released it, I think like 3 months ago. So it's super early. He was one of the first 30 people to get on it. Granted, the first 30 people were all friends of ours. So he got on Breezy. It was a really janky product at the time, barely worked, but you could use it on your phone. And I don't know if he knows this or not. I think I told him, but it's okay. So he asked me to go bowling. Okay, sorry, a little more context. We met at the gym. We started talking. We worked out together a couple times. So then when he asked me on a first date, this wasn't like our first time meeting each other. You know, like we'd already worked out together. He's like, hey, like we should go. I want to ask you out. Let's go bowling. I don't know what your opinion is. Bowling's not my ideal first date.
Yeah, I feel like it's a fun activity, but I wouldn't choose it as like my first
totally
preference.
like because like we're not really talking.
Yeah,
I want to look good. I want to look pretty. I want to get dressed up. I'm like, how dressed up am I gonna get for bowling? I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's so sweet. Like hasn't been in a relationship, so I think he just wanted to pick a fun activity for us. So he asked me to go bowling, and I didn't want to go bowling, but I also didn't want to tell him. So I was like, sure, like I'm down. And I was like talking to my co-founder and my team. I was like, guys, what do I do? Like, I don't want to go bowling.
Yeah.
So I made a list on Breezy, like on my app, and I called it like first date ideas or something like that. And I wrote down, I want to go to the Christmas market. This is around the holidays. Ice skating, a cozy bar, like dinner, but just get apps. Like I had maybe like 5 things on this list of like what a dream first date was. Bowling, not on the list.
Yeah.
And then I told Connor, I was like, Connor, put this list on this guy's feed at the top. We're changing the date. We're going to say it was posted like 13 days ago.
That
so he
is
doesn't
so
think
funny.
I just made it. I was like, I don't freaking care who he follows on the app right now. The minute he opens Breezy, this list is pinned to the top.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what happens. And so we did that, and a couple hours go by. And then he texts me and he's like, hey, so the bowling alley that I wanted to go to is like booked up for the night. Like, how do you feel about skating?
That's so
And I
funny.
texted back and I was like, oh my God, no problem. Like, I would love to go skating. And so we ended up going skating. I had the best time. It's so cute. Like, we were holding hands. We had mittens. It was like snowing outside. Not saying like we wouldn't have been together had we gone bowling, but I just think it's really funny that I did that.
That's so funny. And it's funny that you thought about like, that is a very girl thing. Like, I would 100% be thinking about every detail, but like, okay, it has to be before, like, he asked me out, so it doesn't look like I'm like posting this for him.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that he sees it. Like, let's make sure he views it and have it be like as organic looking as possible. When it's not, I think it's really smart. You did what you had to do.
It's like Instagram thirst traps or stuff like that, but like on another level. Yeah. Because this is my product. I can do things.
Okay. I love it.
My co-founder's going to be like, you can't say that on, out loud. That's like.
Well, it was in beta. So
it was in
like
beta. It was 30 people. We don't do that anymore. Unless you're a girl and you want us to do that, then we can talk about it.
It's like another stream of revenue. Like,
oh my, yeah. This is our path to monetizing.
Yeah.
But it's really funny too because so TikTok is one of our big like acquisition channels, obviously, for Breezy. And a lot of the TikTok content we post are lists that we will share, and we'll tell people they can find these lists on Breezy. But I did one last week that has 50,000 views now, and it was called How to Plan the Best Birthday for Your Girlfriend, because it was my birthday 2 weeks ago. And so I had listed out like, make a dinner reservation, but like at a spot she likes, pick her up early, get her flowers, like go for a walk, decorate her room with balloons, handwritten card. And I posted this list being like, boys, like take notes. And it went viral. And I think, I don't know, there's something about lists like being super valuable, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I kind of like when BuzzFeed was all like
Yeah.
listables, but like that had to take you to another website and it was like curated by an editor. Like this
Yeah.
just feels more organic. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. Okay, well, Lily, where can they find you? Where can they find Breezy? Can they download it? Can they start using it? Like, where are all the things?
Yeah, so Breezy's still in beta right now, but if you go to getbreezy.com or go to getbreezy on Instagram, you can sign up for a wait list. And Breezy is Breezi at the end because Y was not available. I post on TikTok, Twitter. I have a personal newsletter that I write. I think you and I are really big fans of building a personal brand, and like having your personal brand be a great way for you to tell people about how you're building your company.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd say I'm usually at Elsa Nexo or at Lily Sun across all platforms. But it's really fun. I think documenting this journey is a win-win. It's a win for the company, but it's also a win for you to look back on and see how far you've come. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, love it. Well, thanks for coming on my
Of
podcast.
course. Thank you.